Hey, what's up, people? This is Zaref again from Kingdom. This is my new Kingdom 376, and today in this video, we'll talk about this new event which is still on the testing phase, Territorial War, and we'll talk about it more in detail, like what this event is, how you play, and how you can win. So, if you look at the interface, we had our first match, we won, and here is the option where you can enter the battlefield. So one day before the match, the alliance leader has to register for this tournament, and after 24 hours you will be given the time, like when your match will start, and you have to enter in time. The match most probably like lasts for 50 to 60 minutes. It's a 1 hour event, and the rewards are nice. Based on how many warrior points you can score, you can get the rewards. So let us now dig deep into this event, like how does the interface look like. Since the event is already ended, I cannot show, but I do have screenshots. So during the testing phase, I don't know, maybe the game was bugged, we were not able to see the buildings, but we have this another screenshot from the game where they actually explained like what buildings are there on the map. So if we look closely, we will talk about everything one by one. So our first focus should be uh, the forts. Okay, so on the map, if you look, we have 4 forts. These ones, one is on the south, okay, one is on the north, then we similarly have one on the east and one on the west. So these 4 buildings are basically your most important buildings. We will come to that, like why are these important, but let's remember that we have 4 forts which are placed on the 4 different sides of the map. Then after these forts we have some wells, okay, and we have 6 wells in total. So if I have to mark it, you can see that on all the paths we have this well here, one, we have another one, two, three, there is one more here, four, there is one more here, five, and one more here, six. So we have 6 wells on the map. Again, these are also important buildings because they can help you score the points. And after these wells we have a couple more buildings here, 2 buildings basically, which are hand of the deserts, right? So for the time being we will ignore all the other buildings and we will talk about these 3 buildings only, okay? But before we go into that, there is one building at the center which is crystal base, okay? So crystal base is the only building on the map that you cannot occupy. Like, it's different from DC. It's not like you go into the crystal base, you cannot occupy this building. But this building is the initial part of this game, because this is the place from where wagons will come, okay? So wagons are similar like caravan. You can see these orange lines coming out of these buildings. So similarly, from this crystal base, every 5 minutes 3 wagons, or you can say that caravans, will come, right? One would be orange and 2 would be normal. The orange one would be holding 600 ores and the normal ones would be holding 200 ores, okay? So now if you look at the map, when these caravans come, okay, there are 3 places they can take, right? One is towards the south and the 2 is these 2, right? They can randomly pick any paths, right? It is random, totally random. The caravan can go through the right side, to the left side, or the down side. Now when these caravans are moving towards their destination, the destination is basically to reach fort. Like, once this caravan reach any of these 4 forts, their path ends, right? And they can take multiple paths to reach that particular destination. So let's say, for instance, this caravan is moving in this direction, right? The first building that it has to face is this well. So what happens, whichever team is holding this well, okay, the caravan will stay in this well for 5 seconds and drop 50 ores, okay? So remember, for each well the caravan stays, they drop 50 ores. So if it is in your team, you get 50 ores. If it is holded by enemy, they get 50 ores. And let's say if none of the team is holding it, then the system will reduce 50 ores from the caravan, that is the wagon, and the caravan will keep going, the wagon will keep going to the next building, okay? So after well, you can see that there is this hand of desert, right? So this building is very important to hold. Whichever team is holding this building, they can change the direction where this wagon will go. You can either say it to go left or you can either say to go it right. And this direction can only be selected by two persons. Either it can be the alliance leader or it is the person who is holding this wagon. Now, what is the significance of holding this building? Let's say your team is not holding this well, but your team is holding this well, right? So if you tell this building, right, if you mark this building to point to the left direction towards the north fort, then what will happen when the wagon reaches this desert building? It will take a left direction and it will go to the well which is being holded by you, and it will drop 50 ores there, and those 50 ores will be taken by your team and not the enemy players. And after this, when it goes to Fort North, let's say your team is also holding the Fort North. So fort is a building where the caravan will end its journey and drop all the remaining ores. So if you are holding this north building, then the caravan will come there and drop all the ores, and you will have a plenty of them. And when the match end is, the team which is having the most number of ores, they win. So this is the importance of hand of desert. So whenever the caravan is coming, this wagon is coming, you can tell it where to go based on what buildings are holded by your troops, by your players, and by your enemies. So it is just you have to be fast. You have to allocate a player who is looking at the wagons and deciding where to point this tower of desert to, right? So with this, we talked about the importance of forts and we talked about the importance of well. So whenever this wagon is coming, they will drop 50 ores at wells, and they will drop all of that is remaining at the forts. And whenever a wagon reaches forts, it will end its journey. Okay. So based on this, you have to plan which buildings to hold, uh, when to use the hand of desert to change the direction of the wagon, and ultimately you have to hold the forts also, because if you are holding the forts, then your caravan will have the final destination and it will drop a lot of ores. Okay. There is one more thing, like all of these buildings that you are holding, just because you are holding them, you can get 1 ore for each minute by holding these buildings. So you can get ores from the wagons, you can get ores from the wells, forts, but you can also get these ores when you are holding these buildings, like 1 ore per minute. So this is one thing. This is the basically the important gameplay, the major gameplay of this game, where it is mostly involving well, hand of desert, and the forts. Now we'll talk about some other buildings that we have here. So one of the very important buildings in this is Eye of Fort and Eye of Well. So these two buildings, they definitely look like eyes, but okay. So these two buildings can actually you use their power to kick an enemy out of the buildings. For example, let's say this is a well. Okay, so the wagon is coming in this direction and this well is holded by an enemy. So you can use the power of this building to reset this building. The enemy troops will be kicked out, and for the next 10 seconds they will not be able to occupy this building. So if you occupy this building, whenever the wagon comes, you will get those 50 ores if you occupy it. So this is the importance of this building, but there is one drawback. Once you use this power, you cannot use it for another 180 seconds. So here we have the countdown. Okay, and since we are talking about countdowns, it's a very nice change here in this game now. Unlike DC, whenever you hold a building, there is no countdown. So once you are occupying this building belongs to you. You don't have to wait for any countdown to end. So this is one change which is very important. And both of these buildings are same. They do the same thing. Just the names are different because there are two buildings, but they can kick enemy out of the buildings. It will reset the building, and for the next 10 seconds, the enemy will not be able to hold that building. And the countdown of using this skill is 180 seconds. And with this, we have talked about like all the major buildings in the map. Now we have two buffs building here, which is Knight Statue and Warrior Statue. So what it will do, it is like Tower of Blessing for DC. Knight Statue will give you like 50% offensive damage at the cost of 10% defensive damage. So you're gonna get 50% offensive damage, but you will lose 10% defensive damage, and I think the deal is very good because you are getting a lot of offensive power. Similarly, with the Warrior Statue, you will get 50% offensive damage reduction by losing 10% of offensive damage reduction. So yep, this was all about this map. So definitely you have to come up with your own strategy, like what players will hold what buildings, and based on that you can come up with the plans, because it was also our first match. It took us time to understand like what's happening. So you can plan your strategy based on the information that you have currently. And we can even look at what the instructions are saying. This is about the warrior statue. As I said, like it gives you ODR and reduces DDR. Then the knight statue, it is also a buff building. It's give you 50% OD and you lose 10% defensive damage. Then Eye of Fort and Eye of Well, these are the buildings which can reset any building. Within 10 seconds after the reset, the enemy cannot occupy it again, and the reset failure has 180 seconds cooldown time. So yep, these are the most important points, right? Currently today when we played, we were not able to see wagons, I think because it is the test phase, there were no wagons. But in this Chinese version you can see, right, there is this golden car one going through the well. You can also see like how many ores the team have collected from this building. 53 was in favor of blue and 378 was in favor of the red team. So like that, you can see this normal caravan which is going directly towards the south fort, which will give, it is carrying actually 200 ores. So like currently let's say this building is holded by a red team, so when this wagon reach here, it will drop 200 ores and the red team should get 200 ores from this fort. So yes, on the top you can see the interface, how many ores you have collected. And please note that warrior points are different than the number of ores you collect. Warrior points are your individual personal points, which will determine what rewards you get from the alliance. But if you want to win this match, you have to make sure that you are having a lot of ores in your team. So collect ores decides which team win. Warrior points are basically you can attack castles, you can kill troops, and you will get a lot of warrior points. That is basically for your own rewards. So I think this was all about this event for today. I hope this helps if you have your first match. I hope this information helps you to plan like what to do in the match. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. See you in the next video. Till then, have a nice day.